Hey guys, welcome back to another vlog. We're kind of starting this vlog in the same way that we started the last one. I received another package today from one of you guys. So like last time, I thought I'd show the little bits to you. I haven't actually shown Avery these things either, so it's also her first time seeing them too. Do you want to see? So the first thing, and I'm not gonna lie, I've already had a little bit of a cry over this. I didn't know what this was when I saw it, but after reading what it says, it is such a sweet thought. It's called a keepsake church baby, and that is what it looks like. Super, super, super cute. And it's actually the words on it that kind of got me a little bit teary. So it says, "In days of old, when families worshipped together, if the children became restless during the service, grandmother took the handkerchief from her pocket and tied it into a church baby. If dropped on the floor, it didn't make noise and disrupt the sermon. Years later, the ribbons were untied, the stitches snipped, and the linen handkerchief was carried on their wedding day." I don't know why it makes me so emotional. The thought of Avery getting married one day. I mean, I really hope that that is possible for her one day. And it says, "Little boys saved their church baby for their brides to carry." So yeah, that is really sweet, really sentimental, and I will happily keep that forever for Avery. And who knows, maybe one day it might be something that she will get to carry on her wedding day. But yeah, it just made me a little bit emotional. The next thing is pretty unbelievable. Now, I knew this was coming because I have been speaking to the person that sent it. Now, that isn't just a box. Avery has her very own Tiffany's necklace. What's that? This is for you as well, Puddin'. I hope you know how lucky you are to have something like this. So it is this beautiful Tiffany's necklace. Not sure how well you can see it. It's just got the kind of Tiffany's logo engraved on it. What do you think? Is that for you? Is that for you? Can you see it? Can you see it? Is that for you? It's very special. Obviously, Avery is still a bit too young to wear necklaces at the moment, but I think this was more meant as kind of a keepsake until she is older, and then I'm sure she will absolutely love wearing this. I mean, Puddin', Mummy is almost 30 and she has never owned anything from Tiffany's. My baby girl is 2 and she already owns something from Tiffany's. This is so special, and Michelle, the person that sent it to me, thank you so much. She did actually say that the necklace came with 2 hearts, and she has kept one of the hearts for herself, so that Avery has one and she has one, so that Avery always knows that she's loved. And she also sent this beautiful little handwritten note. It just says, "Dear Avery, when you look at your heart, know you and your family are so loved by so many." Oh, it's so sweet. Honestly, things like this, they really get to me, because I never thought that by sharing our journey, so many people would fall in love with Avery to the extent where they actually want to send her things, and really beautiful things that she can keep forever and cherish. And it's just, it's so lovely. So Michelle, thank you so much. It's really appreciated, and these are all things that we will keep forever and ever, won't we, Puddin'? Are they going to go in your little treasures box? Eh? You're going to rock your little Tiffany's necklace when you're older, aren't you? Yeah, I just wanted to show you those little things because they're so beautiful. And we've had a little cry today, haven't we? Okay. It's actually a bit later in the day. I'm starting this vlog a little bit later than I usually do. Normally I tend to vlog in the mornings. It's just gone 1 o'clock. I've still got a few more things to do today. I also want to get Avery in her stander. We did some tummy time this morning, and to be honest, she's kind of been sat on my lap for the majority of the day. I've been cracking on with some editing. You've been sat doing it with me, haven't you? But yeah, it's just a slow day. I need to remember to order our food shopping, otherwise we're not going to have any food for next week. And Daddy wants a roast on Sunday. Yes, he does. I've not cooked a roast in this new house yet, and it's always a little bit iffy cooking a roast in an oven that you're not used to, but I have baked cakes in it, so I think I will be fine. Can you see yourself? Who's that? Who's that? Come on, lift your head. Come on. You're gonna look up, baby girl. You can do it. Come on. You can, there you go. Come on. Come on. Good girl. Clever. Okay, so I'm actually going to try and get this little madam down for a little snooze. It is much more helpful if she has a nap earlier in the day, but she doesn't always cooperate, do you? I'm not sure if she's going to go by the way she's looking at me. She's kind of giving me that, ha, you really think I'm going to go to sleep look. One of the main things that I wanted to talk about in this video, or kind of more update you on, we found this out about a month ago and I've not shared it here on my channel yet. When we went to Avery's neurology appointment back at the beginning of April, Avery was actually given another diagnosis. Now a lot of you that have been following could probably guess what that is based on the kind of recent circumstances. Avery has epilepsy, and as much as we were aware that it was a strong possibility, it is still not nice. It's not nice for another diagnosis to be added to the list. And even though we kind of were anyway, it kind of feels more so now that we really need to be on the lookout for any more seizure triggers. So I'm pretty sure I have shared the majority of Avery's kind of seizure journey. She only started having seizures last summer. So at that time, we were told they were likely febrile convulsions. Now, the doctor who told us that was just the one that was on call on the ward the night that we took her in. I don't think he was quite as kind of invested in Avery. I don't think he'd really done a whole lot of reading into her background. But when she had the most recent set of seizures, which were the ones on her birthday, we spoke to the doctor there, and he said he had a suspicion that it was most likely not febrile just because of Avery's history. Her community nurse said the same, and then her neurologist confirmed it. He said that he never would have assumed it was febrile. It is more so likely that Avery's threshold for having seizures is much lower than the average person, which essentially is epilepsy. So the way he described it is every person has a threshold for seizures, and the average person's threshold is up here. Avery's is probably more so here, but when she's compromised, when she's triggered, when she's ill, her threshold kind of comes to more about here, which is where seizures will start to poke through. Now, we are very lucky in the sense that we have had Avery on an anti-seizure medication since the day she came out of hospital, when she was just 5 or so weeks old. And it's clearly done its job because it's kept her threshold up for the most part. She doesn't have seizures a lot, but obviously when she gets poorly, when she has fevers, even that medication can't help a few breaking through. So I asked the neurologist, you know, what are triggers for seizures? What are the most likely triggers? What can we avoid? And he basically said, don't try to avoid triggers before you know what they are, because what you'll end up doing is actually limiting her quality of life, because there are so many triggers for seizures. You don't want to, you know, cut too many things out of her life, because it will just deplete her quality of life, and obviously that's not what we want. We know that fevers, or we assumed fevers, were a trigger for seizures for her. So we said to him, well, in terms of the fevers then, if we notice that she's getting poorly or we think one might be coming on, can we just, you know, dose her up on paracetamol and ibuprofen and keep the temperature down and avoid the seizure? And he said that is not likely how it would happen. He said he doesn't think it's the fever that's causing the seizure as such. He said he thinks it is more likely whatever has caused the fever. So the illness, the viral infection, the bacterial infection, whatever it is that's caused that fever in the first place, is likely what lowered her threshold to have the seizure. The fever is just kind of a coincidence that every time she seizes she has a fever. He said it's more likely what's caused the fever that has given her the seizures, and we know by now that we can't prevent illness. You know, we have 2 boys in school full time, they are always bringing things home, and especially ever since the pandemic, illnesses, viruses, they're just going around like crazy. And I think a lot of people's immune systems dropped a little bit from being away from so many people for so long and being in their homes for so long. And, you know, Avery was essentially a lockdown baby. Things were still pretty tight. The restrictions were still pretty tight when she was born. That is kind of where we're at now. In terms of kind of moving forward, there is no plan of action as far as I know at the moment, because the levetiracetam that she is taking is doing a pretty good job on its own. If she has had epilepsy since the day she came out of hospital, and for her to only have 3 separate events where she's had seizures, that medicine is definitely doing its job. So we are not looking to change anything. It's just something that it was worth knowing for us, I suppose. She already had an epilepsy nurse on board, so obviously they've been made aware of the diagnosis, and she now has kind of an epilepsy emergency plan that is kind of written up and on file. We have a copy of it, so if ever there was a time when Avery started to seize and maybe I wasn't there, say that she was in an educational setting like school or nursery, she has that epilepsy plan, and that kind of gives them guidance on exactly what to do. So we did come home from the hospital from her last kind of seizure event with rescue med. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that. I think I probably have. Yeah, I think I have. So she has buccal midazolam, which we are to administer if she has another seizure that lasts longer than 5 minutes. Once we've administered that to her, it is a priority then to get her straight to the hospital, because the last time she had midazolam, it was after the 2nd dose. Her oxygen started to drop quite a bit, and the nurses had to kind of actively keep her airways open. So just in case, because that is a risk, we'd need to get her to hospital. We're not to administer a 2nd dose at home in case that happens. So yeah, long story short, Avery has epilepsy. It doesn't really change anything, but it's still not nice to hear. I do just hope that the med she's on kind of stays at the point where it is working as well as it is. There are obviously other options. I mean, Avery was on phenobarbital before she was discharged from hospital when she was tiny, and between that and the levetiracetam, those are what stopped her kind of acute seizures in the first place. We weaned her off the phenobarbital because it made her very drowsy, and as a matter of fact, Avery didn't actually cry at all until we started to wean her off of that. So, you know, I know there are other medicines just in case the levetiracetam did kind of lose its potency for Avery at some point, but I also hope that that won't be the case. I'm hoping that the med she's on will just stay as it is and stay working for her, because it is quite a low side effect drug. We have to just keep an eye on her now. There have been times, particularly in the morning, when she's particularly fussy or tired. I've seen her face twitch a little bit. Now it's really tricky for me because that could be a bit of a breakthrough seizure, or it could just be part of her dystonia, and that's what we've always said. After she left hospital, her doctors tried to convince her to leave her levetiracetam dose as it was so that she would naturally wean off it as she grows. We decided against that, especially after we got her dystonia diagnosis, because we struggled to tell what movements were what. some of her dystonic movements look very similar to seizure movements. So we made the decision, Josh and I, to keep her on the levetiracetam and keep upping the dose every time she kind of outgrew the dose she was on. And now, looking back, I'm very, very glad that we did make that decision. So that will be the case moving forward. We will keep upping her dose as she outgrows it. So there you go. Little update for you. So I am going to stop talking now and see if this little madam will go off for a sleep. She does look as though she might. I'm going to finish watching Bridget Jones's Baby for the millionth time. I think I've got about 10 minutes left. Try and get her down for a sleep and then crack on with what I've got to do for the rest of the day. Yeah, you going to go sleep for Mum? If you sleep now, you might actually sleep tonight at bedtime. Avery has just woken up from her nap. We've only got half an hour really until we need to start thinking about picking the boys up from school, so whether or not we get her in her standard depends on how quickly she actually wakes up. I mean, I know she's awake, but she's always quite snoozy for a bit of time after her sleep. Are you feeling shy? Oh, baby girl. Probably just gonna sit and have some cuddles with her and make the most of it. She gives the best cuddles when she's just woken up. Good morning, guys. It is Sunday. The boys are in the living room with Avery, finding something extremely comical. Josh is up in the bath, and I am prepping a roast at Josh's request. So it's actually been a really lovely weekend in terms of weather. Yesterday, Josh decided to do a little bit of a barbecue. So it was just for like us and the kids, and then my mum actually popped over and had some food too because we had plenty. The boys just played in the garden all day, which was really, really nice because up till now we've not really had the weather for it. It's kind of been trying to be nice and sunny, and it has been okay all week to be fair, but the boys have been in school, so it's nice to actually get to experience the garden because this house comes with a really, really beautiful garden, and obviously we moved in winter, so haven't really been able to get out into it much, but we pulled out the garden furniture. We did that I think last weekend. So yeah, we're actually making use of it now. It looks like it could be a nice day again today, but then the UK can be deceiving. It can look beautiful outside, and I feel quite warm at the moment. I mean, I'm not wearing a dressing gown, which is absolutely insane, but you could step outside and it could actually be quite chilly because of the breeze. But hopefully it will be nice and warm out there so we can get the kids outside in the garden again today. I am just gonna cook this roast. I'm just prepping it at the moment, doing all the little odd jobs before I actually start cooking. We're big fans of cauliflower cheese in this house, so I always have to make cauliflower cheese. I like to make my Yorkshire puddings myself, so I need to make the batter for those. Josh very kindly peeled the potatoes this morning, so I've just cut them and they're ready to go on when the time comes. Yeah, not had a roast in a while actually, so it's just been a pretty chill weekend to be fair. Tomorrow is Monday, back to life, back to school, back to work. Avery's actually got an appointment tomorrow with the reps for a sleep system, and I am going to explain a little bit more about that tomorrow, because I don't really know 100% what they're going to be doing tomorrow, but I'll definitely fill you in afterwards. Something I've noticed is there is actually rosemary in our front garden, so I am going to go and cut off a few twigs for the roast potatoes. Good morning, guys. It is Monday morning. Zach and Eli are just downstairs with Avery. I will be taking them to school in a minute. So Avery's appointment today, her sleep system rep appointment, is actually at 2 o'clock. So I was kind of thinking to myself, by the time he finishes, it's then going to be school run time, and then it's going to be evening rush. So I thought I'd just try, to the best of my knowledge, explain kind of what it's about if you don't know. Now, a lot of you that follow me probably know what a sleep system is. I imagine some of you are familiar with it, but basically, as you guys know, Avery had her specialised bed fitted a few weeks ago, or was it a few months ago now? It's been a while, but anyway, she tolerates it really, really well. She sleeps well in it for the most part. I mean, she still doesn't sleep brilliantly all the time, but touch wood, fingers crossed, the last few nights she has slept okay. But anyway, so a sleep system is essentially kind of like almost a mould in a sense, but it's kind of made out of like sort of foam wedges. I think that's kind of the image I've got. They did show me a picture, and that's kind of what it looks like. So these little wedges can all be moved around to be custom to Avery, basically, and it will fit in her bed underneath the sheet. So it'll fit to the mattress, but it'll be underneath the sheet, so it'll all be secure. Nothing will be able to move around, because I think it's all kind of velcroed onto the system. My hope, excuse the noise by the way, Zach is doing his usual. My hope is that we'll be able to figure out a system where Avery can either sleep on her back or can do some safe side sleeping, because sometimes Avery can get quite refluxy in her sleep, and having her on her side just makes me feel better knowing that she can clear it more easily. And B, because she's always in equipment or on the floor, or, you know, usually resting her head against something because she can't hold her head up, her head is still quite flat at the back. Now obviously this is just cosmetic. I have asked the doctors about it, and they've said you know, it's not affecting anything on the inside. It is just that her kind of head hasn't rounded out at the back, or maybe it is and she might just have a flatter head at the back, who knows. But either way, if she can sleep on her side a little bit more, then that might give her head just that little bit of a chance to round out a bit. But anyway, the whole kind of point of the sleep system is to help her posture, because at night time she's asleep, she's not really doing anything, she doesn't have to put any effort in. So having her in a good posture while she's sleeping will essentially help the way her bones and everything else is growing, because good posture now will set her up much better in the future. We do know that her bones are okay for the most part at the moment. All of her issues, it's kind of only affecting the muscles at the moment. However, her hamstring on her left leg is starting to get a little bit tight. We're doing a lot of stretches. The physio has shown us some stretches. Essentially what we're trying to do is get it to straighten out as much as it can. Now normally you'd be able to straighten your leg completely, and with her right leg she can. However, her left leg, there's always a slight bend at the knee, and they think that is her hamstring, and they said that is kind of, it's still in the green at the moment, but it can very quickly go into kind of the amber where we need to start worrying about it. So we're trying to do a lot of stretches with her. I have noticed it, and to be honest, I have kind of mentioned it to physios in the past, where I felt as though, especially when she's in her stander, her left leg, it almost doesn't look as though her foot comes, you know, flush against the foot pad, the way her right leg does. So that is probably what that is. But at the moment all we really can do is stretches and hope that she gets kind of more range of motion in her leg. But sleep system is the plan. So she has a lot more appointments this week. She actually has another 3 appointments this week. I think she has an appointment on Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. But I think I am going to close this vlog off here and then continue in another vlog. So if you enjoyed it, then please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you would like to follow us along on our journey. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one in a few days. Bye guys.